Right now, there is a silent crisis spreading across Britain that most people still don't fully understand, and it's trapping thousands of homeowners in properties they simply cannot sell. These are not reckless borrowers or people who fell behind on their mortgages. These are ordinary families who followed what they believed was the smart, responsible path. They invested their savings into improving their homes, extending kitchens, converting lofts, adding space for growing families, and creating places they plan to live in for years. Instead of being rewarded, many of them have discovered that those very improvements have turned their homes into financial prisons. Across cities and towns from Manchester to Bristol, Birmingham to parts of London, people are waking up to the shocking reality that their houses are effectively unmortgageable. The average UK home is worth around £270,000, but for these families, that figure has become meaningless. Their homes may look beautiful, functional, and well-maintained, but without the right paperwork, they are toxic in today's property market. Buyers can admire them, estate agents can list them, but when it comes time to secure a mortgage, everything collapses. For decades, improving your home was considered one of the safest and smartest investments you could make. British culture celebrated the DIY enthusiast. Television was filled with renovation shows showing dramatic transformations and rising valuations. The logic was simple and widely accepted. Buy a house, improve it, and you increase its value. Banks were happy to lend against bigger, better-looking properties. Estate agents pushed extensions and conversions as easy ways to boost resale prices. The entire system rewarded homeowners who invested in their properties, and very few people ever questioned it. What almost nobody talked about was the importance of building regulation paperwork, and that omission has now exploded into a full-blown crisis. Over the past several years, building control enforcement and mortgage lending standards have tightened dramatically. Lenders have become deeply risk-averse, especially as economic uncertainty has grown. Today, when a buyer applies for a mortgage, lenders demand proof that every significant alteration to the property was approved by building control. If that paperwork cannot be produced, the mortgage is often declined outright. No mortgage means no sale, and that leaves homeowners stuck. What makes this situation particularly brutal is that many of the affected homeowners had no idea there was a problem until they tried to sell. Some bought their homes 10, 15, even 20 years ago with extensions already in place. The surveyor inspected the property, the bank approved the mortgage, and the sale went through without issue. Years later, when they put the house back on the market, they discovered that the extension built long before they arrived never had building control approval. Suddenly, a decision made by someone else decades ago became their problem to solve. The financial impact can be devastating. Buyers pull out late in the process once their mortgage valuation flags missing certificates. Sellers are forced to slash asking prices, sometimes by £30,000, £40,000, or even £50,000, just to attract cash buyers. Others watch their homes sit unsold for years, draining them emotionally and financially. Mortgage payments continue. Life plans are put on hold, and the stress builds month after month with no clear solution. The scale of the problem is far larger than most people realize. Experts estimate that hundreds of thousands of homes across the UK contain undocumented building work. These are not minor cosmetic changes. We're talking about large rear extensions, loft conversions that added entire floors, garage conversions turned into bedrooms, basements excavated beneath existing houses, and walls knocked through to create open-plan living spaces. These changes added real, usable space and value, and families built their lives around them. Yet today, the lack of paperwork has turned these improvements into liabilities that actively destroy a property's marketability. There is technically a process known as regularisation, where building control can retrospectively approve old work if it meets current standards. In theory, this sounds like a solution. In reality, it is often expensive, slow, and sometimes impossible. Inspectors cannot see inside walls or foundations without destructive investigations. If they cannot confirm structural details, they cannot issue approval. Homeowners are quoted thousands of pounds for inspections and insurance, with no guarantee of success. In the worst cases, people are told their only option is to demolish extensions they've used for years just to make their property sellable. This crisis doesn't just affect individual homeowners, it drags down entire neighborhoods. When multiple houses on the same street are unsellable, it distorts local price comparisons. Even homeowners who did everything correctly are seeing their property value suppressed because nearby homes are stuck on the market. Estate agents report that buyers are more cautious than ever, demanding full documentation before making offers. Deals collapse months into the process over missing paperwork that nobody noticed when the property last changed hands. Behind these numbers are deeply personal stories. Families unable to relocate for work, couples stuck in limbo during divorces because they can't sell the family home, elderly homeowners desperate to downsize but trapped in houses that no longer suit their needs, people turning down job offers, delaying retirements, and watching opportunities slip away because their home has become an anchor they can't lift. The psychological toll of being trapped in your own property, watching your equity evaporate, is immense. This problem is largely invisible in official housing statistics. Price indices track completed sales, not the homes that should be selling but can't. On paper, the market may look stable, but beneath the surface, there is a growing pool of properties effectively removed from the mortgage market. That creates hidden liquidity issues and systemic risk, especially as banks sit on mortgage books backed by properties that may not be worth what they were once thought to be. Local authorities are overwhelmed. Building control departments have been hollowed out after years of underfunding. Backlogs for regularisation can stretch for months, during which properties sit unsold and buyers walk away. The rules exist. Mortgage lenders enforce them aggressively, but the bodies responsible for helping homeowners comply often lack the resources to do so. It's a perfect storm of regulation, risk aversion, and administrative failure. Ironically, this mess was encouraged by past government policy. Planning rules were relaxed, home improvement culture was promoted, banks offered loans based on projected increases in value. Very little emphasis was placed on educating homeowners about building control requirements. Many people genuinely believed that if planning permission wasn't needed, no official approval was required at all. That misunderstanding is now costing families their financial security. The bitter irony is that improving your home can now make you worse off than doing nothing. A beautifully extended house may be less valuable in practice than an untouched one, simply because it cannot be mortgaged. Recent figures suggest properties with building regulation issues take far longer to sell and achieve significantly lower prices than comparable homes without complications. As lenders tighten criteria further, the problem is getting worse, not better. Cash buyers and investors are capitalizing on this situation. They pick up problem properties at heavy discounts, knowing the seller has few alternatives. For ordinary families, this often means accepting offers tens of thousands below what their home should be worth. The wealth transfer is brutal, and it's happening quietly across the country. For anyone considering improvements today, the lesson is painfully clear. Building control approval is not optional if you care about your future. Cutting corners might save money up front, but it can cost you everything later. The few £1,000s saved can turn into years of being trapped and tens of thousands lost when you try to sell. This crisis is unevenly spread, hitting hardest in areas that once boomed and encouraged aggressive home improvement. Solicitors now report that missing building regulation paperwork is one of the most common reasons property deals collapse. Insurance products exist, but many lenders refuse to accept them. Homeowners are left paying for solutions that don't actually solve the problem. Emotionally, the damage runs deep. Home ownership is supposed to represent security and stability. Instead, for many, it has become a source of anxiety, anger, and despair. People feel betrayed by a system that encouraged them to invest and then punished them for it. The responsibility is scattered across builders, previous owners, lenders, councils, and policymakers, leaving homeowners with nowhere to direct their frustration. Looking ahead, there are no easy fixes. Without government intervention, lender flexibility, or properly funded building control departments, this problem will continue to grow. More homes will become unsellable, more families will be trapped, and more wealth will quietly disappear. The average house price means nothing if you can't find a buyer who can actually complete the purchase. What was sold as the British dream of home ownership has for many turned into a nightmare. The DIY boom that promised freedom and value has instead locked thousands of people into homes they can't escape. Until this issue is acknowledged and addressed at a national level, that nightmare is only going to spread.